Hello to all of you, the viewers of Poland Daily Culture. My name is Maria Kądzielska, and we are in beautiful Royal Castle in Warsaw with Professor Richard Butterwick. Pawlikowski, thank you very much for being with us.
Good morning, my pleasure.
And you are a historian, you specialize in Polish-Lithuanian history, and right now we celebrate 230 years from passing the Constitution of 3rd May, which, at least for a little bit, changed the political system in Poland. Please tell me for the start, what is the uniqueness of this Constitution?
The Constitution of the 3rd of May is the best possible testament of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. For a brief period, about 14 to 15 months, the Constitution, as it was successively implemented, showed what the political community of citizens that made up the Commonwealth was capable of. It promised a way to a better 19th century than the 19th century than actually occurred.
Of course, what could it do if it lasted a little bit longer? If the possibility of keeping it, for example, how could it change the state?
The Constitution had change built within it. There was a provision that every 25 years it would be revised by the will of the nation in accordance with circumstances. It was flexibly written. And at the same time, it was based on the heritage of the republican values of citizens inherited from previous centuries. But it also set out a modern framework of the division of powers into the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. It opened the way to evolutionary social changes because everyone was included in the idea of the nation. And as time went past, then more and more people would have been enjoying personal freedom as well as political rights. And the slogan which can sum up this evolution was that of orderly freedom, rządna wolność in Polish. And this can be contrasted with the aristocratic anarchy of the past, with the revolutionary terror of France, and with the absolute monarchies of the neighboring powers. The 3rd of May offered a better path to the future.
So it was a very modern constitution when it comes to the political ideas, especially including into the frames of the nation, also not only nobles, but other part of the society at the end. Yes? So how could we compare it to because the 3rd May Constitution was the first one in Europe and the second one in the world after the American one. How could we compare it to the American Constitution?
The society in the new United States of America was a very different society to the society of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. In the United States of America, of course, there were rich and poor, but there was no legal distinction between them, with one important exception. A large proportion of the population was enslaved. They had been brought over from Africa, or their ancestors had been brought over from Africa and set to work in plantations and elsewhere. And some of the reformers in the Commonwealth compared the situation of the enserfed peasant population to that of slaves across the Atlantic, although it's a comparison that could only take us so far. But in the Commonwealth, we have a society divided into estates. There was the nobility, or Szlachta, which in itself was not further divided because the rank of senator was only held for life. There were the burghers, who in turn lived in royal towns, which had become the free towns of the Commonwealth by a law passed just a couple of weeks before the Constitution. There were those who lived in ecclesiastical towns and those who lived in private or noble-owned towns. And then there were the peasants, perhaps 80% of the population. Again, their legal status varied, but it was on the whole not to be envied. And then there were the Jews, a very large part of the population, about as many as there were nobles, perhaps 3/4 of a million. Lithuanian. And then there were other groups too, such as Tatars, some of which had a status similar to that of the nobility, and Armenians, Karaites, and others. So a different society required a different kind of constitution. The constitution, on the one hand, since it was passed by a noble parliament, could not be expected to completely undermine the position of the nobility. But it did take care to open up the path for evolutionary social change. So this social dimension of the constitution is probably the principal distinction between the Polish-Lithuanian constitution and the American constitution. In terms of the structure of power, the relationships between the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary, they were far more comparable.
And to you, the viewers of Poland Daily Culture, if you want to learn a little bit more about the political changes of the Constitution, stay with us for another episode, or just simply go and check the books of the professor Butterwick, and you will definitely learn much more. And thank you very much for watching Poland Daily Culture.